How are you?
Good morning, everyone. How art thou this fair morn? I went to kiss the missus just before this went live, and then I had to back off because of her lip gloss. Didn't I?
Lip gloss keeps the men away.
Say hello.
How are you, everybody? Good morning, good morning. Yes, it is Mark's 17th sober birthday today.
That means I enter my 18th year. Does that mean I'm a grown-up next year?
Hit the like button just underneath us if you think he's pretty damn amazing, because I do.
No.
Today is not a day for you to say things like, yeah, but what does it really mean? And what is it? Today is a day to say, fucking hell, in a drink-obsessed world, to stay every single day away from the demon drink.
Thank you. Oh, look at all this.
If you are addicted to the demon, of course, for many people could take or leave drink, they don't care. But for somebody that used it for years as a way to salve your pain, to be able to stay away from it when you often have deep pain, is incredible. So today's a day to celebrate it.
Oh, thanks, babe. And I loved your post. It was really meaningful and it touched me in all the wrong places. No. Thank you so much. I mean, look, I've just done a post on Instagram about just a little, kind of like a little kind of nugget of kind of a call to arms, really, for families and addicts
post.
to kind of
read it on
to kind of understand what getting sober can be about. That you know that I'm an imperfect recovering alcoholic / addict.
No such thing as a perfect anything.
Exactly, and I think it's really important to stress that, because I think the reason a lot of people start getting sober, and a lot of the reason people slip, perhaps what you would call quickly, or after a short period of time, is because there's a sense of self-enforced pressure to be perfect in recovery too. A lot of people who are addicts and alcoholics have perfection, issues, because most addicts feel not worthy enough or not enough, and that's based upon, even if you're not striving for perfection yourself, believing you can never even approach it, or that you are imperfect and all that kind of stuff.
One of the things I remember, there was so much about rehab that was so incredible. I didn't have room to put it in my post, but the important thing is how much I've healed as well, because I learned so much about myself and my drinking and all sorts of things with your recovery. But one of the things that really stands out in my mind that they used to put up on the blackboard quite often, I don't know if you remember it, which is don't strive for perfection, there is no such thing, only strive for excellence.
Excellence, absolutely.
It was a big thing in your rehab, they would say that.
Yeah.
Because to strive for perfection, you will always fail, so it's always a reason to stop trying to do whatever
Striving for perfection is baked into the idea of striving for perfection is self-sabotage. It's baked into it. Caroline Faulkner, that's a really good question. Does it feel like 17 years? That's a really good question. Literally, as I saw it popped up, I was thinking, does it feel like 17? What does 17... I suppose the bigger question is, what does 17 years feel like? I think we all have that, what I call elastic band relationship with time, where 1 minute, like in a day, the other day, we did something with the girls, and what we did in the early morning felt like a week ago. I think there are times where, and I think it's really important to say this, I think there are times where it's really exhausting, not drinking, but it's really exhausting having no readily available way to numb what you're feeling. And I think...
And people that aren't alcoholics do that.
Exactly.
Everyone has their way of numbing the edges of life.
Exactly.
You come in, you might stuff your face, you might binge watch shit TV. We all have a drug of choice to help us through the difficulties of life. And the majority of people in this country will have a glass of wine or something when they get home, or
absolutely.
a beer, just to take the little bit off the edge of whatever the day has been. And to never have that, and when I see Mark really struggling, and it's not so much as when we go out for a lunch, or it's those aren't the time. People might imagine, you correct me if I'm wrong, but what I see, it's not so much those situations. It's more when you feel just so low or so high. Like when there's a really celebratory atmosphere, it's very difficult.
Yeah, it is.
Or when you're very low.
Yeah.
But the sort of daily of coming in and wanting a glass of wine sort of thing,
Yeah.
I don't feel it. Is that right or not?
Yeah, entirely right. Yeah. Anne-Marie Franklin, congratulations, Mark. Thank you. Well, sorry, I didn't want to read that bit out. I wanted to say congratulations to you. Sorry, I'm just processing what you're saying. I mean, I suppose it's never any one thing at any one time.
No.
And it's never...
But I think people
All
will be
I
more
do know-
surprised how it's not exactly how they think it is.
Well, for me.
Yeah, for
me.
you.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think I'm quite unusual because I don't have any craving for the substance whatsoever. I mean, every now and then, if we talk, because for a lot of people, the actual substance of alcohol is a really important part of the whole thing. If they smell it, if they see it, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I have to confess, I'm not so not concerned with the substance that I could drink alcoholic-free beers, alcoholic-free wines.
No,
For me,
you say that would trigger you. wouldn't it?
well, I just think it's incredibly dangerous. I mean, I know someone who came straight out of rehab, and I met them, and they were proudly drinking, bottles of alcoholic-free beer, and I was thinking, I don't know, just the look of the beer at the time. I mean, and it's
It's
fun.
like
Hang on, let
Luann
me
with
just
her
fin-
with her rosé
Yeah,
in Housewives of New York.
Yeah,
I always
yeah,
think,
yeah.
God, that just looks so like the whole thing
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you're still sort
exactly.
of caught up in that whole feeling.
But just as I was saying the thing about the woman who was having a bottle of alcohol-free beer, at that time when I saw her do it, I was struggling with the substance. I tell you what, it is more than the substance. It's places. So at the beginning, it's like when you go airplanes. I found airplanes a bloody nightmare.
Lots of people say that.
Because it was a place and airports. It was a place to covertly, or not even covertly. You could drink at whatever time in an airport, and no one would judge you as an alcoholic. It's weird.
Whereas a lot of the other time you were trying to sort of hide it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so happy bloody birthday.
Thank you very much. Anyone here know anyone
Sarah
who's
Begley,
struggling?
keep on keeping on.
Does anyone here know anyone who is
Sarah Begley
struggling?
says keep on keeping on.
Sarah Begley, thank you so much, my darling. Thank you. Oh, look, time for a rhyme personalised poetry, Kirsty Wilson. Mark, sober birthday. I just want to say you are such an amazing bloke and we love you come what may. You have done so well at keeping away from the drink. You are so great, more great than you think.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's
Thank
really
you,
kind of
Don.
you. An enormous thank you to Tim. He knows which Tim I'm talking about. If you could check out Instagram, maybe check out Instagram. So yeah, I mean, it's going back. I'm still grappling with that. Does it feel like 17 years? It feels like a fucking eternity. I mean, it really does. I mean, if I'm at the point by the end of my 18th year of drinking, I'm 50. So take 18 off 50, that's 32. And I started drinking when I was 15.
It has, Ross Donnelly. It has.
So by the end of next year, I'll have spent more of my grown-up life sober than drinking. From the age of 15. That's weird. That is weird.
As Ross Donnelly said, binge drinking has just become completely acceptable with young people,
Yeah.
and spliff and all of it. And well, we're going to be talking later about spiking. When you think of the chaos that ensues around alcohol, it seems extraordinary that you still have to apologise if you're not someone that partakes.
One of the biggest mistakes that people think is that if they just have a blowout every weekend and they don't drink for the rest of the week, that they're somehow not an alcoholic or they don't have a problem with drink. It's a total myth.
It's not true that alcoholics drink every single day. Not all alcoholics do.
Or in the mornings.
No. Yeah,
I
people
mean-
often say that, don't they? Well, they wouldn't drink in the morning or something. No.
Yeah. I mean, some of the most strident people struggling most stridently with alcohol will do all of these things. I mean, it's one of the things that you have to knock out the window in step one. It's of 12-step recovery. What have you done to try and control it? I won't drink during the week. I won't drink before 6. I'll only drink white wine. I'll only drink white wine spritzers. I'll drink a glass of water in between. I'll only drink for celebrations. I won't drink with such and such. Do you know what I mean? As soon as or I'll only drink on holiday. I'll have a week off when I come back. All those things, not for everyone, but all those things can be a real example of how a problem drinker is trying to manage their drinking.
Oh, Michelle, the way you two constantly and consistently support each other at times which would have ended many a relationship is so impressive. So proud of you both.
Oh, thanks, Michelle.
As we are of you.
Yeah.
And your continuous struggle and
You do bloody well.
You do bloody well.
You do bloody well. I wanna get you and me in a boxing ring, Michelle, and we can just grapple. like an analogy for life. I want to grapple. At the same time, can I also say a big shout out to my mother, who, it's not her sober birthday today, and none of us really know when her sober birthday was. But she's stopped drinking for 6 years, and she's undergone some really tragic experiences, and I'm so proud of the fact that she didn't pick up. Obviously, she lost her girlfriend and best friend to suicide the year before last, and she didn't pick up, and that is phenomenal, because in crisis, understandably, anyone,
I would have. If I've been you, Nanny Di, if you're watching, I would have.
So if you watch this, Mum,
I wouldn't have been living on my own and going through that. I would have. So it's quite incredible that you've done that.
And how odd, this is an odd detail. Neither of my grandparents drank. And that was partly because my grandfather, Gordon, who I called Dad, his father died of alcoholism, died of cirrhosis of the liver.
Which we only found out 10 years ago.
From my nan, yeah, exactly. And he was always told when he was younger that he died of something else. But he remembers him lying in bed, dying of cirrhosis. And my granddad always told the story of how he got extraordinarily drunk at a dance during World War II. Got extraordinarily drunk with Nanny Thelma's brother. And obviously something happened that he didn't like. And he never drank for the rest of his life. And so weirdly, the Adderleys are riven with addiction throughout the family, and yet the vast majority of us don't drink. It's strange, because it's been such a traumatic thing. And so I was saying it the other day, wasn't I? It's really interesting. Look at your family history. I mean, my psychiatrist said this when he diagnosed me. Look at your family history to get a real sense of, they're off to the vets today, to get a real sense of whether, you could be, there could be something going on in your life that you can't quite put your finger on. And they do believe in this idea of ancestry. I mean, if heart disease can pass down family, why the hell can't...
Of course. Jessica Woodstock, member for 18 months.
Hey, Jessica.
Congratulations, you're a hero. You've done amazing, Mark.
Thank you so much, Jessica. And look, listen, guys, can I say an enormous thank you to you all? Because, you are always supportive. You're always there with great ideas, maxims, sayings, thoughts. You share your own experiences. This process for me is deeply helpful a lot of the time. And I hope it's as helpful to some of you guys. That's the whole point of this. And this is a two-way dialogue. I mean, okay, we can't hear you. And if we could hear all of you, it'd be a bloody noise, wouldn't it? But you are all such brilliantly, smart, funny, witty, brave, motivated, inspiring people. And we love you for that. I mean, it really is a special community. I mean, obviously you get the odd arsehole who comes in and tries to piss on it. But
we really do love you guys.
Yeah, we really do. So thank you.
Claire Smiley, I just saw your post that you lost. Was it that you lost a lot of people in your family to alcohol? Yeah. And I saw one earlier with you were saying, crikey, I'm an alcoholic. Lost loads of family to alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, you've spoken before about your struggles with alcohol on here, haven't you, Claire? And I just suddenly thought, I wonder if have you ever reached out to AA? Because it's an incredible community, and I know that you struggle with your health, but it's an online community. Yeah. You don't have to go into a meeting, and meetings are available around the world 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And maybe if there's Al-Anon, which is for families and loved ones of alcoholics, which you can go to at any time. All you have to do to qualify is to know someone or to love somebody or to worry about somebody that has a problem with alcohol. You can go to these meetings and you don't have to speak. I think a lot of people worry that I'm going to have to go and I'm going to have to stand up and say, I'm the wife of an alcoholic or I am an alcoholic. You don't. You can just sit and listen. Yeah.
It's a fully accepted and expected part of any AA meeting physically that, often there'll be people at the back, hesitant people at the back, who come in, sit down, and you can leave. You can leave early. Just be in a place where what I call the washing machine spin cycle of your head can just stop for a minute. I mean, I always remember someone saying something really, simple kind of metaphors or analogies are great. Like, go to a meeting and you put all of your bad thoughts into a bin liner and you dump it in the middle of the room. It's actually meant to be a very selfish process, going to an AA meeting or any other kind of meeting. It doesn't just have to be AA, you know. I mean, AA works in part for me. It's not all of me. And, you know, I know lots of other people who I follow and what have you, you know, grey area drinker. There's lots of different ways and strategies to suit people. You know, when I got sober, there were none. There was none of that. I mean, for example, I talked to Sober Dave about that. You know, it's the idea that when I got sober, there was really only AA. There wasn't any of these other sort of, you know, gradations and what have you. And in a sense, I'm not just AA, I'm gradations. But I'm lucky because I have a family. I'm lucky because I have a sympathetic and supportive family that understand that sometimes if I'm struggling, they don't just respond to what I'm presenting as. They actually go, well, hang on a minute, there's probably some component here that he can't, you know, can't sort out with the help of just a glass of wine or all that shit. Anyway, there you go. But thank you everyone for all your messages. I'm going to look on Instagram in a bit when I come off here. Zoe, something so powerful having these platforms to share. Entirely agree. Elizabeth Millett, whenever you see AA meetings in the films, etc., well, you know, AA in films really fucking drives me nuts because they usually present it as dry.
Thank you, Nanny Bluebell.
Or, you know, think about it. A lot of people who are alcoholics are actually incredibly, yes, chaotic, crazy, mad, nuts, eccentric, intense. You meet really interesting people.
Just very ordinary,
absolutely.
everyday people.
But yeah, interesting, inspiring, you know, the quiet people, the noisy people, there's just, you know, there's a cross-section of everyone.
It's just basically the world,
Yeah.
but just, you know, every kind of person is in there.
But when I see it when I see it in films, I go, oh.
I really love AA meetings and Al-Anon. I used to go every single week to Overeaters Anonymous. At one point, I went to Overeaters Anonymous every single day. Do you remember that? Oh my God! Kiki? Kiki! Oh. Oh. Oh my God. Sorry, everybody. Oh, it's all right. The loft door opened. I thought something had fallen on Kiki because she was totally silent. But she's on the phone to the homeopath. Oh my God. I couldn't even go up. Did you see? I couldn't go upstairs because I thought she was squashed under something. No, I couldn't even come up the stairs because I was... Oh my God's sake. First signs of Christmas.
Christmas wants to arrive early. It just fell out the loft.
What happened? The door just opened.
It must have fallen. We have to go back and watch the moment.
First signs of Christmas.
This tree said, I want to be down.
Wow.
Isn't that weird? That just fell out of the loft.
Oh my God, did all your heart skip a beat as well, Mark? I thought something, like, she was so silent. I thought the cupboard had landed on her. Because when they were really small, we had a cupboard.
In this old kitchen.
No, upstairs.
It was in the kitchen.
Fell on her. The
Oh,
cupboard.
that, but do you remember the drawer?
When she opened the drawer and the bloody cupboard
Do
fell
you
on her.
remember the shelves that nearly fell on the dog?
No, don't. Anyway, God, my heart. I just
That's got to
really-
go in a vlog, Fiona Reid
I
says.
thought she was smushed.
Bloody hell, I shit myself, Hazelmouth. Oh. I can't wait to go back and watch that. Jacqueline Clements.
My heart's absolutely pounding, sorry.
My brother has been an alcoholic for 30 plus years, slowly killing himself, but is not able to stop. He lives
God,
with mum and dad
Jacqueline.
who are 80 plus and is stopping them moving to a home. Alcohol makes him selfish. One of the big problems as well is making much older people understand it as well, because I think sometimes older people think that by allowing an alcoholic who are all, you know, we become very cunning and you know, the addiction becomes king. And, you know, it's very hard because older people or, you know, really old grandparents start to what they call enable addicts. You know, they think they're helping, they think they're providing them with safety, but actually they're just prolonging the problem.
Because if I hadn't said to Mark, you can't live here, you've got to leave.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have got sober.
Yeah. You've got to hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, and here's the other thing, Claire, you know, if you find yourself stopping and starting drinking again, stopping and starting drinking again, never feel like you failed.
No.
You know, if you were suffering from any other illness, you often have relapses. It often gets aggravated. You often, things don't work the first time. You know, it's totally analogous.
Alcoholism is a disease. It is a disease of the soul.
Yeah.
And you know, and yeah, like Mark says, with any disease, you can have, you know, troughs and what's it called? Troughs and what?
Peaks and troughs.
Peaks and troughs.
Peaks and troughs.
Sorry, my heart is literally.
Yeah, my heart's beating.
Because it was so silent. I thought she was going to be under a massive cupboard.
Sometimes I saw someone
give
say
yourself a break.
Yeah, and sometimes write everything down. What you have to do when you have to write your life story sometime, and it's a really important part of getting sober. I found my life story the other day in the loft, and write your life story down. Write what's happened to you, how you got here, why you got here, because
your earliest memories, right?
Yeah, and often it's
really big part of rehab, isn't it?
Yeah,
writing your life story.
massive part of getting sober. Claire, don't know necessarily. Don't know. You know, are you? You know, is the cost of a drink, as I say in my Instagram post, more than just the price?
There's if you go online, there is a tick list of 20 different things, isn't there, Mark? That AA put up, and I think, I can't remember, I'm not going to say, but you tick a certain amount as yes, and they advise that you look further into whether you might be an alcoholic. The other thing that they say is go to 6 meetings before you make your decision.
Exactly.
Because you could go to one meeting and it could be very uncomfortable for you, like hearing things.
6 different meetings.
6 different meetings. And when you say different meetings, what you have to explain what that means.
Well, because you get different meetings in different geographical places. You get different people. They're structured in different ways. Some of them have readings. Some of them have half-an-hour shares. Some of them are just an hour long. Some are an hour and a half long. Some are just, you know, LGBTQ plus. Some are women only. There's lots of women only meetings as well. You know, if you want that safety of not feeling that you know, if part of your story are issues with male behaviour, toxic masculinity. There's a lot of all that stuff going on, and you know, there's meetings that are dedicated to quiet sharers. You know, and you don't have to share. You don't have to share. So. Sam JP.
And it's not even about how much you drink.
No,
it's about what it costs you to drink.
That's what I just said. Is the cost of a drink there more than the price? You know, is it? And you can, if you sit down and look at yourself.
Mark would always end up. He might have for the first few drinks, he might feel better, but he would always end up feeling absolutely awful. That was the cost to you, and the cost to then the family, and then, you know, you weren't like, have a drink, oh, have a good night out, have a bit of a laugh, go to bed, get up the next day. It was always a massive cost to your soul whenever you drank. And like, and then the ripple effect, of course, to everyone else. That was the cost.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Okay, well, I mean, that's that. I just want Sam JP, important point, not all alcoholics are drunks. Very true. Very true. A lot of people don't like the word alcoholic. You know, a lot of people don't say, you know, I call myself a recovering alcoholic because for me it's a really important part of getting sober was using that word.
But it's not for everybody.
But not for everyone, no. Writing has helped Zoe with me with my mental health, that's for sure. Something so free about being able to write everything down. Exactly. It's really important, and it's not about writing something brilliant. You're not writing Dickens or anything like that. Bullet points.
Is it just a stream of consciousness?
Just get it down.
Out.
Get it down.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Wilson. A dad. Time for a rhyme. Your dad died 4 years ago from alcohol.
Oh, sweetheart.
Oh God, that's my age.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, and it just must feel so pointless and so avoidable, and so that's the frustration, isn't it?
There's a weird thing that does kick in at the age of 17, after 17 years, that when I meet people, I can almost, especially men, I can almost within 10 minutes get a sense of whether they're an addict. It's really weird.
You can.
You
always know.
And even if you don't, because you're incredibly, perceptive about people, but I can just tell that there's that troubled relationship with substances. Yeah. Okay.
Right, we better get on because
so let's talk about Girls' Night In. who were pushing for a boycott of nightclubs, and thousands of revellers are boycotting nightclubs, taking to the streets in protest over growing reports of drink spiking and injections. A story that we're really, really wanting to keep
passionate
pushing.
about, and we want to keep pushing about it. And our podcast this week is on that. I think we mentioned it yesterday that we speak to 3 of the girls from Girls' Night in Leeds. If you could support this movement, it would be amazing. If you could go and just follow all those Instagram accounts, those Girls' Night In. These are young women trying to do something, trying to say, do you know what? It's not good enough to just say, oh, well, it's always been like this, and men have always been like this, or we're always going to feel like we're in danger. And they're trying to do something proactive about it. So I was thrilled to see Camilla Parker Bowles make a speech on this yesterday. I was just listening on LBC actually. She's been behind the scenes with this movement for a very long time.
That's brilliant.
She's so committed.
And you were saying it's unprecedented.
Yeah, that for a royal to come out and speak in such a way about such a topic. And she is very much of the, of the thinking that we have to imagine, because the problem is none of us can imagine a world where this could be reduced by... Well, she said imagine a world where there is no violence to women. Well, we can't imagine that world. But the whole thing is we have to start imagining it, because if you can't imagine something, you can't work towards it.
Yeah.
Every 3 days in this country, a woman is murdered by a man. Every 3 days. Every 3 days. Just think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an extraordinary figure, isn't it? 16 assaults an hour in this country. And anyway, so the thrust of her conversation was that there has to be change, and that, as we have always say, men have to be part of the conversation, the good men, because there are so many more good men than bad men. There are so many good men. And the conversation she and the other people, is it called, what's it called, this community, this movement that she's a part of? Is it
no,
West...
it was just here.
Something festival.
The Shame Festival.
Shame Fest. Is that what it's called? I thought it was called the West...
End Violence Against Women and
Wilderness
Girls.
Festival, something like that. I think it's at Battersea this...
No, speaking at the Shame Festival.
Oh, the Shame Festival, okay. She just wants an end to victim shaming and blaming, and for us all to become part of the conversation, and that, how do we do that? What does it mean when we say men have to be part of the conversation? And I know that we're repeating ourselves here because we talked about this a lot, but I think we have to keep repeating it.
Yeah.
And it has to be from grassroots, and it has to be good men when bad men are behaving in a bad way, have to step up to the plate, as long as they're not putting themselves in physical danger, of course. There was a brilliant woman just talking on Nick Ferrari, and she was saying, it is now, not allowed. Like it's socially unacceptable to, of course it still happens, to scream out a racial slur, or to have that on TV, or to, we've got to get a zero tolerance.
An equivalent.
Yeah, because it's not nice when you're standing at a bus stop and a group of blokes shout out of the car, whoa, I bet you'd love one, or we can give... It's not nice. It doesn't make women feel attractive or desired or whatever else these morons thinks it makes them feel. It makes them feel frightened and targeted and vulnerable. Yeah. And we have to get that message across. And we have to get the message across that spiking is poisoning a human being and potentially paralysing them, blinding them, or murdering them. And for it to just become part of our vernacular now, just not our vernacular, part of our language. Oh yes, spiking. Oh, and when you go to university, of course, be careful about spiking. Just be really careful about that. It's become too acceptable.
I think it's really strange, and I think it's really sort of like someone just said, when did coffee moaning stop being fun? I think if you watch them across the week, there are some that are really fun.
Yeah, but life is. What this is?
Yeah.
This is an ongoing conversation, and some days, like when you have a friendship with somebody, some days you meet up for a friend with coffee and you have just silliness and gossip, and then other days you're talking about the things that are really getting you, and that's what coffee moaning is. And that's what we love about it. It's an ongoing conversation over years.
Or it's about Allen keys. Can I just quickly say, because we're going to have to sum up because we've got something to do. it really strikes me as odd and telling that in a sort of masculine culture, we are correctly redrawing and reworking and revising prejudices against all sectors of society. So, for example, race issues, trans issues, lesbian and gay issues. All these things are correctly being reversed, questioned, corrected, and looked at again. It strikes me as odd that beneath all of those, it feels, come women. Really odd that women still are the sort of one part of society that struggle to enact change.
As long as you cope, you get on with it.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd say about this nightclub boycott, which is really depressing in a sense, is only when you hit economically do you potentially get any action. So, for example, clubs, someone was just saying in Nottingham, clubs were forced to close down because they only sold 10 tickets last night. Now, my heart goes out to club owners who have a lot of other things that are responsible. Listen to the Girls' Night In women who contribute to our confessions. They talk about the fact, very reasonably, that nightclubs have a lot of other issues, drugs and all sorts of things to kind of manage. But why is, again, female safety right at the bottom?
But also, I think if you run a club where you cannot afford to make it a safe club, then you cannot run a club. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I agree.
You can't.
It's
gone way beyond that now.
I think there needs to be a welfare certificate for nightclubs and drinking venues that is not about alcohol selling and all that kind of stuff. If you can have health and safety issues that, so for example, with a restaurant, if they don't hit a certain level of regulatory sort of perfection, they get closed. I think it should be the same for clubs in terms of safety.
I do. It should be tied to the licence, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so hit the like button, guys, if you've enjoyed it. And if you haven't, just go and watch another channel. It's very simple. I don't understand. But guys, have a lovely day, and there will be something landing. There's a vlog landing later today.
And we've really enjoyed spending time with you this morning, as we always do. So if you have, can you hit the like button just underneath us? And have a lovely day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Thank you again for all your beautiful, lovely, supportive comments.
You are all so brilliant, and we love you very much.